Namaste. A very warm welcome to this special webinar on Tourism Act Now for Better Tomorrow, where we have invited national and international speakers, thought leaders, experts, and the authorities at the public and private sector of tourism to discuss and share the latest updates, future strategies, and inspiration towards restarting tourism in a more resilient and sustainable manner. Today, we have also invited key participants from tourism industry of Nepal and Southeast Asia, and we will be sharing this recorded session among our thousands of subscribers and stakeholders in world tourism. So let me introduce myself. My name is Suresh Singh Budal. I'm CEO at Untitled Chapter, and I am the part of Face of the Future for the year 2020. And I will be your host for today's webinar. Well, we are extremely honored and delighted to have distinguished guests and speakers today. We have Dr. Taleb Rifai, a renowned name and very inspiring personality in world tourism. Dr. Taleb Rifai is the former Secretary General of World Tourism Organization, heading the UNWTO since 2009 for the 2 consecutive terms till January 2018. Dr. Rifai has an extensive background in international and national public services, private sector, and academia. We have another inspiring speaker from PATA headquarters, Dr. Mario Hardy, CEO Pacific Asia Travel Association, based in Bangkok, Thailand. We have Mr. Rajan Pokhrel, Director General from Civil Aviation of Nepal. We have Dr. Dhananjay Regmi, CEO Nepal Tourism Board. We have Dipen Pustakal, sir. He is the former Secretary of Ministry of Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation. And at the last but not least, we have Mr. Deepak Raj Joshi, former CEO Nepal Tourism Board. So let's quickly have a look upon our agenda today. We will start the webinar with welcome remarks by our chairman, Mr. Bibhuchan Thakur, then followed by a brief presentation on Destination Nepal by Deepak Raj Joshi. Then we'll have a special remarks from Dr. Taleb Rifai and Dr. Mario Hardy. And we will have a very special Q&A session on the current issues and updates from CAN, Civil Aviation, and Nepal Tourism Board. Then we will have remarks and webinar wrap up by respected Dipen Pustakal sir, and we will have a special presence of the Secretary Ministry of Culture, Tourism, and Civil Aviation. That's the agenda we have today. And before starting the program, I have a short note for the participants. So as you can see on the bottom of your screen, please use these 2 functions, chat function and Q&A function. To engage with your colleagues and participants, please use chat function, and please do not share questions to the speaker using this function. The speakers will be looking at the Q&A function, so if you have any queries or any questions, so you please use Q&A function. So without much ado, now I would like to invite our chairman, Mr. Bibhuchan Thakur, for welcome remarks.
Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, everybody, for being present here. Namaste and good afternoon, distinguished guest speakers. Dr. Taleb Rifai, it's an absolute pleasure. Namaste to you, sir. Dr. Mario Hardy, namaste. It's an absolute pleasure to have you also on board. Respected Dipendra Purush Thakal, sir, namaste and welcome to our webinar. Dr. Dhananjay Regmi, CEO of Nepal Tourism Board, namaste and welcome, sir. And Mr. Deepak Raj Joshi, former CEO of Nepal Tourism Board, namaste to you too. And Mr. Rajan Pokhrel, Director General of Civil Aviation, and all the participants of this webinar, namaste from PATA Nepal Chapter. On behalf of PATA Nepal Chapter, a very warm welcome to you all to this webinar on Tourism Act Now for a Better Tomorrow, where we are going to present national and international experts, thought leaders, and authorities of the public and private sector to share national and international perspectives and insights on the latest updates, future strategies, and inspiration for restarting tourism in a more resilient and sustainable manner. Following the crisis faced by the world through COVID-19 pandemic that has caused the global economy to plummet, and in no time at all, it has been one of the most challenging periods for people in tourism and hospitality, and businesses worldwide, causing devastating losses economically to almost all entrepreneurs from around the world. With Nepal's lofty objectives and vision to welcome 2 million plus tourists, starting from 2020, we have instead faced losses never experienced before in the history of our industry and trade. During these most difficult and challenging times, we need to work together more than ever to build back a better and more resilient, sustainable tourism in our country, Nepal. Pata Nepal chapter being one of the full-fledged tourism associations encompassing all the public and private sector members on board, we look forward to enhancing our engagement and advocacy roles in partnership with the government and private sector tourism stakeholders towards tourism recovery. We highly appreciate and acknowledge the continued support of Pata International for Nepal. I remember fondly that immediately following the devastating 2015 earthquakes, Pata International headquarters helped us with tourism recovery action plan. And together we were able to bounce back with exponential growth in tourism in a fairly short time. It is terribly unfortunate that we have all been badly hit once again by this new global health crisis, and we look forward to similar support and guidance from Pata headquarters ahead for the post-COVID recovery of Nepal's tourism. I know we're all waiting to hear our distinguished speakers today. So without taking any further time, the Pata Nepal chapter and I extend our heartfelt gratitude to all distinguished speakers and guests for your valuable time here by accepting our invitation. Thank you, a warm namaste once again, and please stay safe. Thank you very much. Namaste.
So thank you, Chairman, for your welcome remarks. Now, I would like to request Mr. Deepak Raj Joshi for his brief update and presentation on Destination Nepal, shedding light on why are we advocating for Act Now initiative in tourism. Where are we now and where should we be? Deepak sir, you got the international recognition of champion in challenge for your efforts during the post-earthquake recovery campaign. And how do you assess this crisis and how we should move ahead? Over to you, Deepak sir.
Thank you, Sureshji. Respected Excellencies, Dr. Talib Rifai, Dr. Mario Hadi, respected Dipen sir, DG of CAN, CEO of Nepal Tourism Board, Pata Chairman, and all the influencers, friends from our region. Basically, on behalf of Nepal's tourism industry, first I would like to welcome probably the most respected personalities of our tourism industry, Dr. Rifai and Dr. Mario, for your special time, valuable time given to us for Nepal's tourism industry. In today's webinar, I'm asked to talk about the current status of our tourism and what can be the future possible actions that we can take for better tomorrow. I have a small presentation here. So in this 5-7-8 minutes, I will be highlighting a little bit brief about how was our situation yesterday, I mean before 2019, what is the situation right now, and what kind of actions we can take after pandemic or in some time. So basically, while talking about 2019 and before, in 2019, we're receiving 1.2 million visitors with 12 days as a length of stay. GDP contribution in our tourism was roughly around 8% as per WTTC. Nepal was creating a kind of employment opportunities in tourism sector for roughly around 1.1 million Nepalese. Tourism is a top performer in foreign exchange earnings and in foreign investment in Nepal. We had a very ambitious Visit Nepal 2020 campaign with the target of bringing 2 million visitors to Nepal. We had 5 major source markets, though we received more than 70 countries, the international visitors. The number 1 market was India, followed by China, then USA. Though being a long-haul market, USA is the 3rd largest source market for Nepal, and Sri Lanka and UK. Nearly 30 international airlines were connecting Nepal with 40 destinations from 70 countries. So this was a brief situation that Nepal's tourism was. To talk about the industry side, because of Visit Nepal 2020 and because of some other reasons also, Nepal's tourism sector was going through a very, very encouraging time. But suddenly this Corona, COVID-19 thing happened, and after since last February and mid-March especially, Nepal is also in lockdown. Then, especially after earthquake, we are receiving 20+% of annual growth in last 4 years. After 2019, starting with 2020, in first 2 months, we had very, very good growth, but after that, it is nosedived now. So we are expecting roughly around 60 to 65% of negative arrival in 2020. While talking about our COVID situation in Nepal, mostly most of the cases are in the bordering town with India. In our higher altitude, it is very, very less cases we have. In some of the sites, it is 0 cases. First case in Nepal was in January 3rd. Then total cases so far we have 16,000 plus, 8,000 plus are recovered. Death is around 35. And in domestic markets are partially open within the limited areas, districts, but the tourism is not opened yet. Nepal is known as one of the least impacted countries in the world in case of COVID-19 impact. Though it is increasing in Nepal, but globally it is very, very less so far. Immediately after COVID-19 situation, Nepal Tourism Board and Civil Aviation Authority and Ministry of Tourism took a very active role. We set up one tourism crisis response unit. Started in Nepal initiatives through which thousands of tourists were rescued and repatriated to their countries. And still we have roughly around 2,000 visitors staying in Nepal, choosing Nepal to stay back, thinking that Nepal is a safer place compared to their home countries. And after that, Nepal has activated Nepal Now campaign also to share positive stories. Some of the private sector initiatives, they have done a kind of Dream Now, Travel Later campaign. Very recently, through PATA, we did one Dream to Travel campaign, very, very successful. And then safety and hygiene protocol that is already introduced for civil aviation sector through Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal, and for industry sector from the leadership of Ministry and Tourism Board. So that is there. And then so for better tomorrow, the industry sectors and the experts, they have suggested to have a very strong recovery strategy. To start with, 2020 can be a year of survival with the focus on survival. 2021 with the focus on revival, and 2020 with the focus on thrival to make it better. For the survival of the industry, right now, Ministry of Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation, Tourism Board, CAN, tourism associations, and all the stakeholders of tourism sector are working very closely. Government has allocated some incentives and stimulus packages, which was announced for new fiscal year, which starts from mid-July. After 3 days, we are starting our new fiscal year. Some of the recovery strategies that we need to go with, and what we are doing is safety and hygiene protocol that is already in place, massive training and orientation to practice these protocols that is also in pipeline, which I think NTB CEO and CAN DG will highlight about in the sessions. And after that, the industry suggests that we need a strong monitoring mechanism so that this gives a kind of safety assurance to the visitors, where we can have public authorities, representatives from private sector, and the units like tourist police. They can have a kind of task force to monitor the everyday practice that what industry is doing. In many forums, in Rebuilding the Travel and Project Hope also, and in other forums also, we have been talking about identifying and developing corona resilient zones, because we know that tourism is a badly hit sector, and with vaccine or drugs or without vaccine or drugs, we have to make our industry resilient. So these are some thoughts we are also working on to identify some resilient zones and connecting green corridors where we can start some movements in tourism. While talking about South Asia region, in some of the parts of South Asia, like in Sri Lanka, in India, in Maldives, some of the domestic tourism activities are on, but the international borders are not open yet. In Nepal also, we have closed both domestic and international tourism movements, but the industry is demanding to open it soon so that travelers can have some plan to travel in near future. So the industry is demanding for to announce the date of opening with certain safety protocols. I think CAN DG will certainly share about it. The stimulus packages, the government has announced 150 Arab budget in Nepali rupees. But for that, we suggest this needs a special task force to work on for the working procedures, areas to mobilize this fund. And we need to act very, very fast in this line also, because industry is in the a kind of threat in danger zone right now. So if this funds comes after 8 months or 9 months, that might not be useful or impactful, so that we have to mobilize this fund right now in few days of time. The collaboration and communication is always very, very key in rebuilding travel or recovering tourism. So the collaboration among key stakeholders is very, very important. In that line also, we need to work more. We are working on to build a Friends of Nepal network. Nepal is a destination which is blessed with friends like Talib Rifai, Mario. There are so many friends, high-profile influencers who love Nepal. So we are going to build a Friends of Nepal network so that we can use to influence to travel Nepal in future. We need to encourage more on innovation, because in every crisis there are opportunities to explore new opportunities. So in this line also, both the government and private sector, we need to encourage innovation and new opportunities. While talking about the segments and markets, after every crisis, the experts, they say that the 4 markets that help us to revive faster and 4 segments that help us to revive quicker. Talking about markets, domestic, regional, short haul, and then long haul. And then segments, domestic segment, niche segment, in which Nepal is blessed with the business and corporate sector, where there is a kind of compulsion to travel, and pilgrimage segment. In that segment also, Nepal is very, very potential, especially in Buddhist and Hindu segments. In many forums, it is being talked like after Corona impact, the a kind of nature-based activities and transformative type of tourism will be the first choice. So Nepal is always based with nature-based activities, be it trekking or climbing or rafting or wildlife, jungle safari. Even in Nepal, we have found like above 2,000 meter altitude, there are very, very less cases, almost 0 cases. In high altitude, even the houses are scattered. perfectly, the naturally isolation. The places are naturally in isolation. Even the activities are also encouraged by compulsion, a kind of isolation, because in high altitude we cannot walk in the same pace, or we cannot do activities together. We don't have large groups in those locations. So in that kind of activities, Nepal can do better. Nepal is known as one of the most resilient country, especially after post COVID-19, earthquake. Also, we bounced back better. In past 20 years, we went through different kind of crises, be it sometimes insurgency, political instability, earthquake, and now Corona. So the industry is quite well experienced, expert, handling the experience of tourism since last 60 plus years. The hygienic food also will be a prime concern after COVID-19. So in that front also, our indigenous food is very, very hygienic. Most of the people, they say that Nepalese are known as, be it brave Gorkhas or Sherpas, they are very, very strong by physical fitness and the mental fitness. And this is all because of our food and natural environment. So these kind of things will give more opportunity, and we need to share these kind of experiences to the larger audience of the world. Nepal is a very, very environment friendly country, and the strong network we have. So we have a very strong foundation. In another side, we have to act now to introduce safety protocols, which we are doing. Destination standardization and upgradation, we need to do more. In these lines, I was watching some of the news and then was interacting with locals. There are very, very exemplary activities our local communities are doing, building the trekking trails, heritage sites better during this lockdown. They are not silent, they are not passive, they are very, very active. In fact, we need more collaboration, especially after COVID-19. One thing is very, very important is in our airports or the other service points, the services will be led by tech, making touchless points more. So these kind of added safety protocols may increase the cost in traveling. So destinations, how we are going to incentivize, especially airlines and the travel agents and other players, is also key, where we need to work and design some plans. Because minimizing cost factor is very, very important, and above all, effective marketing and promotion is also key to revive. So in particular, the three things are very, very key to revive the tourism after some kind of disaster. One is safety concern, another is cost factor, another is value of travel. In these three border segments, how we can work together and work effectively depends how and designs how faster we revive our tourism. After every crisis, and this is one of the biggest crises for world normal, we need to acknowledge and understand the change that this pandemic is bringing. We have to adopt the new practices and accelerate to grow more, finding opportunities. So without much, I would like to thank all the fellow panelists and then the friends of our tourism industry for listening us. The mool mantra, key mantra of revival and survival is working together. So for that, the industry need to come together with these lines. I would like to conclude my presentation. Pray from Nepal, pray for the world. We'll bounce back better, certainly. Thank you. Thank you, Suresh.
Well, thank you very much, Deepak sir, for your detailed update on the destination Nepal and for your valuable recommendations for restarting tourism. And we all are desperately waiting for the restart of tourism. Moving ahead with our agenda. So it's a great honor and privilege for all of us to have Dr. Talib Rifai with his extensive and inspiring portfolio. He is, even after the retirement, he is currently leading the Rebuilding Travel Initiative, which is a global campaign to restart tourism. So I request Dr. Rifai to share his thoughts and insights about the present and future of global tourism and with specific recommendations to Nepal. Namaste and welcome, Dr. Rifai. Over to you, sir.
Taleb, your microphone.
Namaste. Namaste. Good morning, everybody. I know it's afternoon in Nepal, but we still have it morning here. I'm very, very honored to be with you here. I've been in many places where Nepal was in the heart of me. You can see behind me how close and how dear Nepal is to me. I've been there 2 times in my life. I don't think anybody should go about the journey of life without visiting Nepal once in a lifetime, definitely, without doubt. I'll talk about 3 things, if you don't mind. One is the opportunity coming out of crisis. You know, our Chinese friends don't have the 2 words. The 2 words, crisis and opportunity, are 1 word. It's every crisis has an opportunity coming out of it. So we have to look at the bright side of things sometimes. Now, I know that Corona is not easy to see the bright side of, but I can pick up some points that we have learned from this crisis to see how we can move forward. Life is not going to be the same at all. That's for sure. Life is changing. International borders have disappeared completely. Virus don't recognize any borders. But at the same time, ironically, it is each individual country that has acted on its own now. International organizations have proven to become irrelevant. I'm sorry to say this with Mario Hardy here, my very good friend in Pata. But international organizations are struggling now to try and keep up with things. Each country is left on its own. Each country is devising policies of its own, which is not easy to do. But it's a new world order that's being built now, from bottom up. It's going to be a better world, I'm sure. This, you can look now, United Nations, you don't hear anything from the UN, don't hear anything from the AU, don't hear anything from the EU, so on. So it is an ironic thing where borders are disappearing because of the crisis of the disease. At the same time, borders are strengthened because of the national feeling. Each government wanted to take charge of its own. That is a new world that's in the shaping. This new world will create a new norm, as Deepak, my very good friend, just said. Deepak, by the way, is a wonderful person. Like me, he never retires. Deepak, thank you so much for bringing all this together. I know that I've seen him so many times working in so many places. Chairman Tucker, thank you so much for keeping all of us together, truly. Now, how is the new norm being formed? You remember when we used to take off from our cars, carry our luggage and go to the airplane directly. We didn't have to pass through metal detectors. We didn't have to take off our shoes, take out our belts. Today, it's only normal to do that. It's a new norm. It's not going to change. After September 11, I know we started new procedures, but they haven't changed since then, although the situation has changed. I believe that the new norm after Corona, or in the era of Corona, there is no after Corona, we're already living in it, will change. Masks, for example, will become a must. Gloves will become a must. We will observe social distances for now and forever. I was in Korea a few years ago, and in Korea, you can't enter a home without taking off your shoes. You know that very well. Now, each one of us is taking off their shoes when they enter into other places. I know that in China, for example, wearing a mask is something, even if you have a cough, you have to wear a mask. So the world is changing in that way, very much so. And these changes will continue. Now, about tourism. Tourism, without doubt, is the hardest hit industry in all of this. There is no tourism if there is no travel. Travel has stopped completely. You remember the days when the Icelandic ashes erupted and how aviation stopped all over Europe. People missed traveling. Today, it's 10 times bigger, 10 times more. So there's an advantage here in people understanding the value and the importance of travel and tourism, which is something that we always struggled with. Deepak knows this, Mario knows this. All the people that have worked with us know how important it is for us to convince government and people and the society at large. Tourism and travel are important in their lives. Today they recognize this. They recognize it at a very heavy cost. Now, let me move quickly to the second point I want to talk about, which is why it's important to recover and to do everything now. We cannot wait until tomorrow. Although there are 3 stages I would suggest for recovery, but they are to be prepared for right now. Stage number 1, as you all mentioned very well, is to keep businesses alive. Survival is the name of the game. The hotels, the industries, the tour operators, the airlines have to be kept alive. That's why government dedicated some money to do this. That's where the Project Hope that we worked in with the ATB in Africa and the together travel that Deepak was talking about, worked on it. It's basically an amount of money that the government has to dedicate to keep businesses alive. This has nothing to do with any action on the ground. Simply pump money. When you have a crisis, you don't make it tighter on people. Remember in 1927, 28, maybe some of you do recall, Roosevelt had the biggest economic crisis in the world at his hand. It was the time where he built all the highways in the United States. All the highways in the United States were built in the late 20s because he believed, and that's correct, that you spend money when you have a crisis. You don't keep money tight. That's what we need to do. We need to distribute money in the hands of people. We need to keep businesses alive one way or another. That's stage number one. That's already been done by some countries. Some other countries did not do it. I suggested that 10% of GDP should be allocated for this. Even if you borrow it, it's okay. This is a legitimate borrowing because this is a way to stimulate your economy. Now, the second point after that, you have to concentrate on regional and domestic tourism because you can't jump directly into international tourism from recovery. You have to start with your own. And this is another opportunity that we have because a country that's not enjoyed by its own people cannot and should not be enjoyed by anybody else. We should travel in our own country. We should get ourselves close to our country. We should love it, should have passion to it. Many of us here in the developing world treat any visitor that comes from abroad as if he's God coming on earth. People with blue eyes and blonde hair come to our countries and we treat them like they're something very special. Now that's important. It's good to make a visitor feel good. But the more important thing is the people of the country should love their country first. If they don't do that, they cannot receive their visitors in any significant way. So domestic and regional tourism is important. In Nepal, particularly, you're blessed by surrounding two very important big markets, India and China. And these should be able to make it easy for them to come to you, especially your own people also. They must travel. Now, domestic travel needs completely change of mindset. You cannot speak to them in English. You have to speak to them in Nepalese language. You have to make advertising. You have to make packages that are suitable for local people, even affordable for local people. And government must support this kind of activity, this kind of direction. So domestic and regional tourism is step number 2. Step number 3 is international tourism. That's where we go to international tourism. People coming by aeroplanes. We can't just jump directly and say, I want a tourist to come, the same tourist that came before. It's not going to happen like before at all. Trust me on this one. Now, all of this must be prepared for in view of the changes that are happening. Let me now say what are the 4 changes that I believe are very important nowadays. Change number 1 is the rise in importance of domestic tourism. It's an opportunity for us. We should have done this before. 70% of travel in the United States and Europe is domestic because they respect their own countries. We tend sometimes in developing countries to respect our visitors more than we respect our own heritage, which is not right. I'm sorry to say this. I'm very blunt about it. We have to respect our people. We have to respect our culture first. If we don't do this, it will never move forward. Never, never, ever. So, emphasis on domestic tourism is very important, but it needs a completely change of mind. We need to start thinking of how families behave. Traveling from countryside to cities is domestic tourism. Going and visiting friends and relatives is domestic tourism. Having games, having sports games, having people travel from place to another, even going and visiting some of your friends in another place. All kinds of movement can be defined as domestic tourism. But we have to observe what are the trends that are more important to our society and try to move accordingly. You can't just treat a domestic tourist like an tourist. Domestic tourist is not interested in going to the highest top in the world because he lives there. He doesn't need to see it again, but he needs to enjoy time there. He needs to enjoy his time with his friends, with his family, with his children as well. So that's what we need to start thinking about. Of course, I know domestic tourism is not as important economically as international tourism. Domestic tourism does not fix the balance of trade, does not bring in hard currency, but it keeps facilities alive, keeps hotels open, keeps restaurants open, keeps jobs alive, which is important. That's very, very important. Then we move into international tourism. International tourism, we need to start working in a different way. In international tourism, we need to start creating what we call the bubbles. We called it Corona Resilient Zone. CRZ, which is a zone that is very well designed from the minute you leave your home to the minute you go back to your home. You have to start thinking of who are your partners, who are the countries that have direct flight between you and them. Try to connect with them and agree with them on a certain protocol. It's now one-to-one. International organizations are not going to be able to help. They're helping as much as they can. WTC is trying its best. I know PATA is also doing the same thing and trying to put together some international standards. To the end of the day, the execution is in the hands of you, your own government and your own people. And you can do it. I'm sure you can. So domestic tourism is our first opportunity. The second opportunity is our emphasis on digital technology. You can see how we're meeting here today. I'm sitting in Amman, Jordan, so far away from you. And you're in Nepal. Some of you are in Thailand. I know Mario's in Thailand, for example. Many of you are in different parts of the world. This is a new way of life that we're living now. This new way of digital technology is changing our life completely. We should have to look for opportunities and businesses that can come out of that. You know, special occasions also, not just concerts. I have seen, for example, Bocelli making a concert from the Domus in Italy. He was singing alone, but he was joined by thousands and millions of people all over the world because it's virtual reality. So we have to start thinking differently, imaginatively, outside of the box. I had my daughter also marry last week, for example. She's living in Dubai. I could not go to Dubai. She could not come to Amman. Me and her father were sitting in Amman. She and her husband were sitting in Dubai. And there was on the third line, the priest marrying them. This is a new way of thinking. We should start to explore this for commercial reasons as well. This is a new way of thinking, new way of living. The third thing is safety and security. As I said before, safety and security is going to become now something very important. It's not important for you to say, I opened the airport. You can open the airport and nobody's going to come unless they feel the place is safe, unless they feel it's secure. It's psychological impact of things. So my advice is do care and worry about the psychological impact and put yourself in the place of a traveler. Nobody's going to travel today just because he wants to have a good time if he feels in danger. So it's not just what you do on the ground. It's telling people that you're doing what you're doing and have other people verify it and stamp it, like the stamp that WTC is doing or other organizations can do. This is the safety and security issue. The last thing is training and retraining. You know, now with the new way of living, we need to retrain our staff. Our staff cannot keep doing the same thing. Our hotel receptionists are going to be told different instructions. Our hostesses are told different instructions on aeroplanes. Our bellboys are doing different. Our hotel and restaurant waiters are acting differently. All of this needs a massive national and regional retraining program. So all these four elements, one is domestic and regional tourism, two is digital technology, three is safety and security, and four is retraining are the basis of moving forward. Now, in the end, I want to say something about Nepal. Nepal is a wonderful place, believe me. I've seen it. I've been there 2 times in my lifetime. It's a dream. I have so many memories of Nepal here in my room, in my office. This beautiful piece of clothes behind me, just one piece of that memory. I always like to show it to people. Nepal is a country where passion overrides everything else. You're the heartland of Buddhism as well. You could start promoting yourself as such. Nepal is a wonderful country. Take care of it, please. And most important of all, stay safe. Our life is more important than our economy. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry I took more time than I should have. Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rifai, for your enlightening thoughts, insights, and recommendations for Nepal. We are very grateful for your valuable time and gracious presence today. We look forward to welcome you very soon to Nepal again and again.
I will be there. I will be there. Believe me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So moving ahead with the program, next, I would like to welcome Dr. Mario Hardy for his remarks and presentation. Dr. Mario, welcome. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Namaste, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Rifai and Deepak and everyone else. It's always challenging to speak after Dr. Rifai and Deepak, since they actually pretty much covered everything. But let me try to cover different points of view and different aspects of the current situation. Just cover some numbers to start with, and I know that you've probably heard these many times, but it's important to remind ourselves what they are. In terms of the impact on the entire industry, back in April, PATA ran a business impact survey across the region, and with over 500 respondents from Asia Pacific, small businesses, SMEs mostly, which said at the time that 15% of the businesses had already closed down. This is back in April. 42% of the respondents said they only had money for 2 to 4 months, which means by now that the majority of those businesses are either closed or about to close. 38% of the businesses had actually already at the time made some layoff within their organizations, which means now there's significantly more. More importantly, 65% of the businesses were not prepared for any type of crisis at all. No crisis communication plan, no reserve in their bank to survive or to last over a crisis of any type, regardless of the size of this one. Now, about the size of this crisis, as Dr. Rifai mentioned before, it is probably 10 times bigger than the financial crisis in 2008, which was already quite significant. According to WTTC, it is over 100 million jobs that are at risk and 2.7 trillion US dollars are potential losses for the industry. Now, to give you also a sense of perspective, to say that you in Nepal are not alone, 97.2% of travel globally in the month of May, actually what was the reduction, was 97.2%, which means less than 3% of movement across the world, which you can allocate most likely to just people being repatriated or for medical emergencies. And this number was consistent across the world in Europe, and the mostly affected were actually the Americas, both North and South America, as well as Africa, which was only 97.6%, just a fraction of percentage more than the rest of Asia or Europe. The other important number to also know is that on March 16 is when we really hit the bottom. There was minus 200% in bookings. This actually means that it's looking forward of zero, not only zero bookings for travel in the future, but people getting a refund and cancellations for the trips that they had done before. Since then, the good news is that things have been climbing up almost like a V shape, where things are actually starting to recover, and we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel, with some countries being reopened gradually. Again, in the month of May, the majority of the world was closed. Borders were closed. People were not able to travel. Now, in some of the work that we did with TripAdvisor and some of our partners, we've identified 5 stages in the recovery. The number one was obviously the decline. News and concerns spread rapidly. People were practicing social distancing, and travel declining at a really fast rate. Second was what we call the plateau. Potential travelers stay inside to ensure safety and help flatten the curve. The third, emerge. As the crisis begins to pass, lockdown restrictions begin to ease, and people begin to venture out again and to visit restaurants and their local businesses in their own city. The fourth, which is the situation we're in here in Asia, is domestic travel. As confidence continues to grow, people feel more comfortable traveling again, and they begin to visit friends and family in their own country. In Thailand, the country has been reopened for domestic tourism for nearly 5 weeks already, and very successfully. Within the first week of announcement, people just wanted to escape Bangkok and travel to the 8 resorts that have been identified around the city, where people can travel by car, no flights. So traveling and spending a weekend away in different places, which I am looking forward to, because in a week's time, I'll be going away for a week outside the city for the first time. Fifth is international travel, crossing borders either regionally or internationally. We're not in that phase yet, certainly not in Asia, but in other parts of the world, in Europe, that's just about to restart, or has restarted in some countries already. And many of us in Asia are actually looking at what's happening in Europe with anticipation and very anxious to see the outcome and the result if new cases or new phases of crisis or pandemic are starting back in Europe. If not, then it's a good sign and likely we'll see more reopening. And countries like Thailand, we have some soft reopening of regional travel, very limited numbers on a daily basis, and only for business and medical purposes, with testing being done on arrival for passengers. International borders are not likely to reopen until either late August or September at the moment. It was mentioned earlier about travel bubbles or green corridors, or there's different terminology for it. Australia and New Zealand were the first one to come up with the terminology of bubbles. The Baltic regions have created their own, and there's discussions around here in Asia with Thailand and Vietnam, which is COVID-free, Thailand, which had no cases for nearly 6 weeks already, and discussions with other countries in the region too, such as Malaysia and Cambodia, as well as parts of China, Japan, Korea, and other places too moving forward. But putting these bubbles and these corridors together is not a simple task. It means you have to have a level of trust between the respective destinations on their healthcare system, and also having trust in the testing being done and the tracing of the people that are actually traveling in the respective countries. So as much as they sound like a really good idea, and I really look forward to actually see some of those opening, and I believe there will be some, putting them together is not a simple task and takes a considerable amount of time. The sooner the better, obviously, for the businesses. In terms of a roadmap, in terms of a roadmap to restarting tourism and the recovery, there are a number of technologies that are actually being looked at, that are being implemented in various places around the world, and agreed with ICAO and IATA and other organizations, such as pre-flight contact tracing, temperature screening at arrivals and departures, physical distancing, use of masks is highly encouraged, cleaning and sanitization protocols that are implemented in various countries, testing, as I mentioned before, which is critical, not only before departure, but as well as arrival, and as well as departure again when you return. Discussions around health or immunity passport, digital passport, that will contain information regarding your health. Touchless border control, no more fingerprints. Touchless check-in at airport, at hotels, attractions, and shopping mall entries with tracking, which we have here in Thailand. Transfer screening at airports, public areas and restaurants, also protocols which Thailand has implemented. And the other point, which very few people I've not heard actually being talked about by anyone yet, is the need for travel insurance, which at the moment, none of them were actually really covering people for traveling overseas, which is a big concern, specifically for business travel. If any of our staff at PATA, including myself, wanted to travel overseas at the moment, the answer would be no, simply because we do not have corporate insurance that will actually cover anybody during a pandemic. And therefore, we'd be liable and taking risk, which is something we would not want to do. For tourism purposes, it's a question of each individual assessing their concerns and their risk, and if they would be willing to travel without having a travel insurance, which I suspect will be actually very, very low. In terms of the activities for PATA to help during the crisis, a few weeks ago, back in April, we've launched the PATA Crisis Resource Center with information about the government subsidies offered around the world, the Tourism Recovery Monitor with links to reliable sources of information for the current situation, the impact survey, which will publish the results within the next few days, as well as news that we gathered from different sources. Now, the second version of the Crisis Resource Center is actually being launched this week on July 14. What you will see in the new Crisis Resource Center is quite innovative. You will be able to download recovery kits. You'll be able to actually produce your own recovery plans with the 5 different phases and the different implementation phase within that. For each one of your respective organization, regardless if you're from the public or private sector, SME or large corporates or organizations themselves. You'll be able to build a communication strategy guide and planner, again, customized to your own needs, directly online. There are actually kits for aviation, hospitality, tour operators, and as well as SMEs. And access to case studies and also access to a group of experts who can actually help you during this moment of crisis. The other aspect of what Pat has actually done over the current crisis, as Deepak mentioned before, we've launched 3 weeks ago the Dream to Travel Festival. There is 1 week left. The 3rd week, last week, was actually all focused on Nepal. And the reason for this is, while this crisis is going on, you want to continue to keep the attention on Nepal, so the people, when they get inspired to travel again for the future, Nepal comes actually at the forefront of their thinking in terms of where they want to go. So a lot of the activities and experiences we've been organizing for the last 3 weeks, and one more week left, is really about continue to inspire people to travel, and also getting the trade to talk to each other, to exchange ideas, and prepare themselves for the future. And so we're throughout this crisis, PATA has been really active and in moving all of its activities to the digital world online, and connecting with our members on a regular basis. We've been organizing a large number of forums online, sharing insights, and just making sure that everybody is aware and continue to be informed about what's happening. But I highly encourage all of you to have a look at the Crisis Resource Center when it's launched on Tuesday this week. It will be shared widely to our newsletter, and links will be provided to the news center, and to go to the process of putting your plannings and recovery plans together, which will be very helpful for, especially for the SME businesses as well as the governments. So thank you very much. Back to you, Suresh.
Thank you, Mario, for your unparalleled data, insight, forecast, and recommendations, very valuable recommendations for Nepal. And we highly appreciate, the continued support of PATA headquarters, always promoting Nepal and supporting the members in Nepal. Thank you once again for joining us today. Now I would like to move ahead with the program. Now this is very interesting, and the question answer session with authorities at Nepal Tourism Board and Civil Aviation. We have 2 dignitaries here, Mr. Rajan Pokhrel, Director General from Civil Aviation Authority of Nepal, and Dr. Dhananjay Regmi, CEO of Nepal Tourism Board. We have summarized some common questions that our members and industry stakeholders are looking forward to hear. So I would like to request our participants to use Q&A function if you have any additional questions, so that we will try to accommodate as far as possible all the questions and answer them. At first, I would like to invite Rajan sir for Q&A session, and we will start here. Welcome, Rajan sir.
Thank you, Suresh.
So, sir, we have recently launched the safety protocols and operational guidelines to restart the aviation. And the restart of aviation would be the doorway for restarting tourism or our recovery campaign. Having a safety and hygiene protocols in place, many countries have already announced the new opening dates of airports. So when are we planning to open domestic and international airports? Please update us on this.
Thank you, Suresh, and good afternoon and namaste to all. Actually, it depends upon the situations of pandemic in our country. There is a multi-agency COVID crisis management committee at high level, which continuously monitors and evaluates the situation of the country. And recently, some relaxation has been made despite of lockdown. Based on this, we have also prepared Canadian Airlines operators. We discussed many rounds of talk and prepared the resumption of flight in near future. As you already mentioned, Canada already issued operational guidance to airlines, airports, and other services associated with airports. Based on ICAO guidelines, to its member states as part of its COVID-19 aviation recovery takeoff card, ICAO says. So based on our civilian authorities' guidelines, airlines operators have also developed their standard operating procedures, and they have already submitted to us. We are evaluating it, and after we accept it, it will be implemented. So now we are waiting the decision in high level. Though we are also part of that team. This is a multi-agency committee, so it needs the group decisions. So once this decision is made, we are ready to resume the domestic and international flight as per government's guidelines.
So you mean we are not in the position of endorsing a date as of now?
Yeah, at this point I am not able to say by which date the flights will resume, but we say we are approaching very near.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for your insight on this. I have a next question to you. Like, we have seen that the aviation industry in many countries now prioritizing seamless travel with advanced technology-based services, reducing the touch points at arrival and departure airport formalities. So how is our preparedness in this regard?
Sorry to say, Mr. Suresh, not many countries, only some airports are using some advanced, but different technology. The airport to airport, they have adopted different technology for passenger processing. We have discussed with airlines and other authorities like immigration, security, to minimize touch points for passenger processing. So we have also reduced some touch points, except 2 points in departure, that is airline check-in counter and immigration desk. In arrival side, there will be only one touch point, that will be for immigration desk. So still we are discussing with these organizations and authorities. As you know, Nepal has recently improvised its immigration checking system. So far you have not received any such concrete advice from ICAO or ACI in this regard. It is depend on airport to airport. So our main focus is at this point is minimized touch points, just I have mentioned here, and making proper sanitation, frequent sanitations, and social distancing with contact tracing of traveling public. This is our focus at this point.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Sir, at the moment, like we assume the flight cost might go up with the added service amenities and new safety protocols in place. Since Nepal is already considered as one of the expensive destinations in terms of air connectivity, we believe that this increased flight cost may not encourage travelers, so especially at this competitive and challenging time. So do we have any plan or incentive schemes to encourage the connecting airlines to Nepal?
So first of all, we should realize that our airport is a destination airport. This airport is not strategically located to be a transit airport. So it has its own limitations to make it costly. So most of the time I have heard about the comparatively high fees and charges in TIA in terms of aviation turbine fuel, ground handling, or landing, parking, navigation, etc. In recent years, government of Nepal has reduced the rate of ATF. I accept that definitely it is still high. There is more scope to reduce it down. The rates of ground handling rates are also different in different airports. In some airports, it is in line with Kathmandu airport, whereas in some airports, it may be less. But we are only pointing out those airports where ground handling charges is less than Kathmandu. So I think we should review on this. So far as the landing, parking, and navigation charges are concerned, it is more or less equal in Southeast region. In some cases, our charges are less. For example, we do not charge for parking for 3 hours, whereas parking charge is exempted only for 1 hour in many countries. So I think our charges are not so high, and I accept that there are some at least some scope to reduce the ATF charges, and we are discussing with concerned ministry and authorities. And as far as other charges are concerned, we have not increased these charges for last more than 10 years. So at this point, I can't make any concrete plan to attract the airlines by providing any such type of any relief package.
Thank you, sir. I think this will be probably the last questions to you from my side. If we will have any additional question from participants, we will accommodate them. So, sir, aviation has an important role in connecting our destination. Even it is more important for the landlocked country like Nepal. We have been talking about advancement and development of new airports since long time. Would you like to share the latest updates or new development of expanding the existing as well as new airports?
Actually, our focus is to optimize capacity of Kathmandu Airport, remaining within its limited land space available to us. As you know, during this lockdown period, we completed construction of new departure exterior hall and demolished the old structures. Also, we developed 2 parking aprons for wide-body aircraft. Similarly, we also extended 300-meter runway towards south that will provide runway in safety area, RESA. It is a requirement for international airport. And our next focus is to complete the ongoing international airport projects. According to the schedule, and also initiate the construction of Nizhgan International Airport. As you know, the Gautam Buddha Airport, we are behind the schedule. However, the project is now in its final stage, and we hope it will be completed by December 2020. Similarly, for Pokhara International Airport, it was actually before the schedule, but due to this pandemic, the work progress is little bit slow. So we hope we can complete it within a specified timeline, that is June 21. So far as the Nizhgan Airport is concerned, we are doing some preliminary works only, as the project has been processed through Nepal Investment Board on PPP model. And there are some legal issues that needs to be resolved first. I can only say about the Nizhgan Airport. And our another priority is to expand existing large domestic airports being served by turboprop and small jet aircrafts. And also modernizing the existing airports located in mountainous and hilly region, which are very important in terms of tourism promotion. However, these projects are being affected due to the financial crunch caused by this pandemic. Still, we are now focusing on completing our existing projects, and this year we are not initiating any new project due to financial problem. Let me hope everything will return in its normalcy very soon. Thank you very much.
So we have one more question from Dr. Mario Hardy, CEO PATA International. Is the Aviation Authority using this time to renovate the airport and also train staff for reopening?
Yes, we have in this part, as I have already mentioned here, we have completed many improvement work at Kathmandu Airport, which is the only airport, operational airport for international flight today. Major expansion work like new exterior hall for departing passengers. Similarly, expansion of a parking area, apron, and extension of runway length to provide runway edge safety area. So these are some major works we have completed in Kathmandu Airport, and also we are making some improvement work at other airports also. We have trained our people for resumption of flight, keeping in consideration of our guidance we have issued for the resumption of flight at Kathmandu and other airports.
Thank you, sir. One more question again from Dr. Mario. Is Lumbini Airport still on time for opening later this year?
As I told you earlier, that to Gautam Buddha Airport, that is Lumbini.
Yes, Lumbini.
It was supposed to complete it, but due to certain issues between the contractor and other stakeholders, actually this project was going to shut down. But however, we make maximum flexibility to facilitate the contractor, and now this is completed more than 91%. Almost all infrastructure development program have been completed. Only some equipment installation works and machinery parts are due. Everything is arrived in the site, but technicians, they have to come from USA or Europe and even Thailand. They could not come here due to this travel restrictions. So once this restriction will be eased, we believe this will be completed by December 2020, and another next 4 months, it will be operational.
So thank you very much, sir. I think that's all from the participants and the questions from my side. And thank you for sharing the recent updates on civil aviation. Meanwhile, we have the gracious presence of Kedar Adul Adhikari sir, respected Secretary of Ministry of Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation. Welcome, Kedar sir. And he will be addressing at the end of the program. So I keep on moving the program ahead. Next, we have the question answer session with Dr. Dhananjay Regni, CEO of Nepal Tourism Board. So Dhananjay sir, first of all, thank you very much and congratulations to you for launching the safety protocols and operational guidelines that will definitely encourage industry stakeholders to gear up for restarting tourism with a foreseeable future. So at first, I would like to ask you, can you share us about the current priorities of Nepal Tourism Board in terms of marketing and product development?
Okay, thank you, Siraji. So, about the marketing this year, as you know that from the last year, this time we are going, last year we had a budget of 1.5 billion and now we have only 140 million and we have to survive and have to promote the Nepal throughout the world with this budget, limited budget. So we have changed all the priorities. Now we are not going to do what we used to do in the past. We are going to focus mostly on the digital marketing. And as we are not really know that when all these airlines are going to resume and when the people start to move around the world, so we are going to focus at present to prepare for the upcoming days. So what we are doing is we have make a 7 task force who is looking after one stop destination, especially from Nepal. And we are trying to make a different promotional materials focusing on that particular countries. And try to make most of the documentations on their on the local language, and at the same time about the marketing is this, and so basically about the domestic promotion also we are working together with the international marketing. For the domestic also we have already make a detailed survey how we can make the people to move around within the Nepal. So we come up with some suggestions to the government that we should not let the people to travel very nearby destination, so that otherwise all the people, most of the population living in Kathmandu and in Pokhara or in some part of the Tarai, but if we just keep them moving just around, that is not going to help to sustain the overall industry, because this time we are not talking about the revival, we are talking about the survival. So we are trying to we suggest the government to implement some of these new schedules or the new these itineraries to the people, so that people can keep moving in a different geographical region and it can support throughout the Nepal who invested in the industry. This is what. And this is about the marketing part, what we are doing. And about the product development, this time the budget has focused a little bit on the in a little different way. In the past, normally our product development was focused on the very small, like some cycle trails, some small trekking trails, but this time the government come up with a completely different concept, the hill station concept. And we are thinking about changing Nepal's own identity from a seasonal destination to the year-round destination. And for that the government decided to restart 7 hill stations in different part. I mean, not restart, but establish or encouraging these hill stations and connecting them different villages where you can enjoy the different cultures and to develop these cultural trails. So this is a kind of a little different concept, and which we strongly believe that this is going to give Nepal a new identity as a year-round destination, because so far our focus on the very extreme climatic zones where in the high mountains where the temperatures remains either mostly 0-degree temperature during the winters, and during the summers they are inaccessible because of the foggy or the cloudy or due to the monsoon. Airports were not operating, or very difficult to access those places during the summer season. So we had two seasons. So we are going to change this identity and going to make Nepal an overall year-round destination. This is what the hill station concept is going to support. This is what we do strongly believe. One, and then at the same time, Nepal is known for the Buddhism, but we haven't promoted much of the Buddhist culture. So the Buddhist circuit. So we are working very intensively on that, so that we can introduce this Buddhism circuit all over the world, especially after this COVID. what we believe is people are going to more focus on yoga, meditation, some sort of places where they can get the peace, or where they feel like they rejuvenated themselves, so on. So we are going to focus on promoting the Buddhism circuit and Hindu circuits, especially Ramayana. And so these are we believe that either these the high mountains or these lonely, adventurous wilderness areas are going to get more priorities in the coming days, or the people who strongly believe on the God, they are going to get more attracted towards those destinations where do they have faith. So we are going to focus mostly on these, and about the product development, we are going to focus on that. And well, this is yesterday.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for sharing these insights. So after 3 days, our new fiscal year is starting, and we know that Nepal Tourism Board is currently preparing its annual budget and program. Sir, what are the priority programs and core outcomes of this budget, especially during this crisis period?
Well, as I told you, this time we are going to make a national budget of only, tourism board budget of only 140 million. And with this, we have to do a lot of things, but what we are lacking is the data. So this time we are proposing to spend almost 40% budget, because this is the crisis time. We are not moving much, and we don't have much to do, much activities to carry out. So we are going to focus mostly on generating or collecting the data about the each and every potential tourism destinations, about the hotels, how many rooms they have, what facilities they have, and based on, so it is going to be from all the natural landscapes to all these infrastructure, whatever we have built, about the road conditions, about the trail conditions, about the porter shelters throughout the mountains, about the cultural destinations, old heritage sites. I mean, from east to west Nepal, from north to south, everything we are going to collect all this data and going to put on the GIS database, and we are going to give it access to everyone who want to use that, because that is the easiest format that people can use in the future. And once we collect all these data, then anytime at any sort of the crisis, we can use those data to make the better planning. And so this is what we are going to focus mostly on that. And that is going to include, I mean, the flora, fauna, all the information. I mean, basically what helps Nepal to introduce ourselves to the world community at one side, and what helps Nepal to properly manage in the future, or how we can, especially for the planning purpose. The database that we are planning to collect, that is going to support everything in the future. So let's hope what we are planning, that is going to be going to really support the Nepal in the future. This is what we are focusing mostly. And second, we are thinking about giving, now we are using a different sites, international sites, booking.com, this and that. But still, we don't have a reliable, trustable site in Nepal from where people can enter and can get all the facilities. So we are going to develop a platform, digital platform, to all the people who are interested in the tourism, or who have invested, or who are already in the tourism industry, so that they can promote through that platform their own product, and they can promote their company. And we are going to take overall responsibility of the security, everything. People can go inside there, they can make a payment, everything. So this is kind of a big digital platform that we are going to provide to the industry. This is what I think going to help Nepal to promote at a time, because now people come to know about the Nepal from our website, Welcome Nepal. Then they have to go outside somewhere and look for the number of companies' website and have to get the information. They really don't know either they should trust it or not, or should they make an advance payment or not. So there are so many problems. So we are trying to give some solution from this this platform, so that more people can come to know about, and they can trust Nepal and come and they can book in advance, and they can visit Nepal. This is what second focus is going to be. Besides that, we are going to put up, so far in the past, we used to have a 70, 80 international travel art fairs and so on. But this is a year of COVID, and we, as before, Dr. Rifai was also telling that country not enjoyed by our own people cannot enjoyed by the foreigners. I really like many of the things that Dr. Rifai mentioned, I really, this is what the feel that I myself used to feel. So what I found that we are always going outside, only 5 or 10 people from the industry, they are going for the B2B business. But from this year, in the what I'm planning is we are going to invite as many people as possible to Nepal and going to make a number of travel fair in Nepal. So we are going to allocate most of the other budget or the whatever the we are thinking about intermediate budget as well. If it happens, then we are going to focus mostly on inviting the media peoples for the family bloggers or the travel agents to Nepal and to show them, take them to because first thing, if you look at what I realized that I talked to many people who are doing this tourism business in Nepal, they themselves have not visited many of the places that they are selling to the international community. Or until and unless you don't feel, you don't see, you don't touch the places, how you can promote it better. So instead of going from one mouth to another and without visiting that, what I really want, I want to invite the people to Nepal. I want to take them, show the places, talk to them about those places, brief them about that, and once they get knowledgeable about them, and when they get assured that okay, if they can sell or how they can promote in their own country about those particular places of Nepal, then only they can promote better. So this is what I'm going to give more priority in the future. So this is what I'm planning. So the part I was doing in the past travel mart in Nepal, and which was a fantastic. But in the future also, I'm going to promote such activities. This is what we are thinking about on the upcoming budget.
Thank you, sir. So, like tourism industry is very comprehensive, and, we have different sorts of service providers ranging from hotel, travel agents, trekking companies, guide service providers. There are a lot of different range of service providers, and everyone has their own problems at the moment, especially because of this global pandemic. So what are the major problems that the tourism industry is facing at the moment? What do you feel that? And how Nepal Tourism Board is coordinating and facilitating support to the private sector in terms of survival and revival of the tourism industry?
Well, so the problems are all over there because, the pandemic started at a time when it started in the December, and then soon after we had a one season. So all the people who used to work in the mountains, they have lost their jobs for throughout one season. They normally work for two seasons and they survive for throughout a year. So 2 seasons means also hardly 60 to 70-day work time for them, and they have to survive with that money throughout the year. So the people who were working mostly on the mountains, they all are jobless and they are really facing a big problem. This is what I found. And secondly, people who invested, who have offices on the rent, who have hotels on rent, or who invested a lot of money for the big hotels or small hotels, they have a problem of how to retain the jobs. Job retention is the biggest problem to them. At the same time, how to pay the rentals and how to pay the interest to the banks. And most of the people are facing a problem. And there are some people have were involved for doing different type of business, but at this crisis, all type of business were badly hit. So they cannot make money from one part to support another. So everything is hit, and the tourism is more hardly hit. So there is a problem mostly in every part. And what we are doing is, especially for the to make it easier, or to give confidence to the people, we before telling them anything, we were working very hard on making a budget. So we understand that until and unless the government do not support, individual cannot going to do anything. So we focus the government in from the ministry. Our secretary is there, so he supported a lot. We come up with a very clear idea that what is going to support the whole industry. So we talk there about the job retention funds. We talk about the some less interest financial supports, and at the same time we talk about promote the domestic tourism. And so there are something that we requested to the government. So government later come up with the very good packages they come up with the 50 billion rupees of this job retention funds and 100 billion rupees for this refinancing of the loans, and at the same time government declared that they are going to promote the domestic travel. So there are so many things came, but the problem is those came in a budget. So how it is going to implement it in reality, that is the biggest challenge. Does that budget, the procedures that the government is, or the whoever the agency is, like maybe the most probably the different banks, or the central banks, can they make appropriate procedures so that the money can go to from a porter, small porter, to the big hotel owners? So there, because I don't want that it should be all the benefits should be taken by the big hotel owners. What I'm concerned is it should goes in a proportional way to everyone. Everyone should be get benefited by the facilities that is given by the government and what is declared in the budget. So that is the one. And I'm from a Nepal Tourism Board. We have run a number of workshop. We talk with the people. We try to get the feedback from the different agencies, and we incorporated everything and we submitted it to the to our ministry. And I hope that our secretary has already sent it to the Nepal Central Bank, and the procedures will be easy, and every person who are involved, who are directly indirectly related to the tourism, will get benefited with those packages. And for the, this is what we are doing for the survival. For the, again, for the Desh Darshan, we call it Desh Darshan, the domestic tourism. We are really focusing on that also. We already make a number of these itineraries, and we are really ready. Once the government will open, once this lockdown will be completely shut down, then we are going to promote it from the Nepal Tourism Board, and this is what we are doing. And about the revival, just before our director Rajan Pokhrel was DG Sahab was talking, and he still don't know when the airlines are going to open. And from tourism, because I understand what the pain the industry is feeling, why the government is not taking this initiation to open the airlines, why government is not supporting the private entrepreneurs. This is what there is a question. Everyone is asking me nowadays when the airlines are going to open. And we, from our side, we already told the government that now we need to learn to live with the new normal, and we need to understand as early as possible that now we cannot get rid of this COVID. We can just take the precautions, but we need to learn that we need to live with this in a new normal conditions. And it will happen. As again, here I don't know, he was saying that before we don't have to take off the shoes, but we learn that, and it's become a part of our life. So similarly, wearing mask, using sanitizer, this all will be there, but blocking, stopping, and we need to open it. So we requested government several times to open, and I think our ministry also have forwarded it to the we call it a CCMC, COVID Crisis Management Committee, and I hope very soon it is going to be they are going to open it soon. But the problem always is there, why the commercial flights are not open, and why only the charter flight is, what the interest of the government is there. Well, it is not very clear, but I hope that the government is going to open the commercial flights very soon, and I hope our secretary is going to answer this question more clearly. And about the revival, we already come up with the protocol. So now from our side, whatever the, whatever the things private sector is supposed to do, we already done. Okay, the protocols are there. We have already distributed it to the industry. We already started giving a training. So every day we are running 3 trainings. So we are giving, and different associations, they are supporting, they are inviting number of people to attend and NTP is supporting every part. So so every day, so far I think we already have given training to more than 500 people, and it is still going on, and I hope that for a month it will continue. So this is what we are doing for the revival part, and well, this is what we are doing.
Thank you, sir. I think we are running out of time, and I will keep it very minimum now. Dhananjay sir, you have taken the leadership of Nepal Tourism Board at this very difficult hour when the entire industry is facing the greatest challenge we have ever seen in the history of tourism. So you need the support and cooperation from all public and private sector. What kind of collaboration and support do you expect from the private sector to accomplish your vision and priority actions ahead? And what recommendation you would like to suggest to the industry people to enhance the preparedness and management efficiency of the industry at large?
Well, I think the question what you asked me is, I need to talk for an hour, but I'm going to sort. So see, so far when I look at the all our documents in the past, policies, everything, there is no very clear vision where we have to take the Nepal. So I come up with a kind of a little different vision. I try to implement it in the policy level. I requested the ministry to let's change some of the rule and regulation, existing rules and regulations that were there for the last many years, 30-40 years, and ministry is really supporting a lot, and we have formed a different task force to study and to come up with the better solutions, which we are doing. So what I really need is, when we come up with something new for the betterment of the industry in the future, these private sectors should not be think it with the political biasness, or they should understand that this is for the good thing, for the some good motive, and they should come to support. If they cannot support, they should not at least go against it and talk negatively, because it is very easy to spread the negative messages in the society than a positive message. So here what I feel is like, we really from the heart we try to do something good. Ministry is supporting, we are doing, and we went trying to do something good together, and always there is some kind of the negative rumors that is going all around. So that is the problem. And well, I think you talk about the times. I'm not going to. I need a support from the people. This is one. Another is Nepal is a very highly resilient society, no doubt. So what I really want to say that please be ready, prepare for the coming days for the new normal tourism, and prepare yourself, prepare your staff, give them training. If you want our support, just contact us. We are here to support. Nepal Tourism Board is yours. We are a bridge between the private sector and the government. And in my experience, government is supporting what the NTB is saying so far. And but there is a problem during this crisis. Even if the ministry want, that is not happening because of the another authority that was put above the ministry, that is the CCMC. So we need to understand the situation at every side, everyone's. And but during this time, I want that every industry people should try to think positively. Don't go, if we start to think negatively, start to give a negative message in the society, it's never going to give a solution. People are saying, oh, ministry is not doing, go do a kind of a strike, NTB is not doing, but even what we are doing, that is also too much at the time of this crisis. So they need to understand that it is a crisis period. It is not a normal condition. So this is what I want to say. And thank you, Sureshji. I think.
Thank you, Dhananjay sir, for your valuable time and wonderful discussion here. I would like to move on before having our respected secretary for final concluding and special remarks here. I would like to welcome respected Dipen Pustakal sir, who is our mentor, our guru, and expert with years of experience in Nepal's tourism. His unparalleled knowledge and unique skill in moderating and wrapping up the conferences like this is always inspiring to the industry. So let's welcome respected Dipen Pustakal sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sureshji. It's my pleasure to be amongst this knowledgeable gathering here. Dr. Rafai, thank you very much for making your very comprehensive and very truthful expressions today. So is Dr. Mario Hardy. Actually, you also presented with a lot of evidence-based, I should say, that you had many figures. The report of the survey as well you shared with us. Thank you. In fact, this has been a fruitful time that we spent together today. I would like to start from what Dhananjay just said at the end. Though he is very new to this industry and is leading the Nepal Tourism Board, we see here in Nepal that they are doing they are on the right track. At least I could say that. They have, let's say, the safety protocols, operating procedures they have brought out. And similarly, they are also looking at the new packages that could be applicable even in these difficult times. That when we do not have the international tourists traveling, as Mario Hardy just said, that even for the international tourists they want to visit, the insurance may be another problem. That the pandemic and the insurance and the travel, I mean, there are a lot of restricting factors. So in that sense, there is got to be more emphasis on the domestic tourism, as very rightly said by Dr. Rafai, as well as Mario Hardy and Deepak also touched upon that, and Dhananjay ji also is doing in the same track, like how to promote the and it's very right that this is the world is going to change. We have to learn how to live with COVID-19. At least for Nepal, the forecast that I have come across is that it is going to stay with us at least for 1 year. And even for the small country like ours, there was one figure that has come out that by the end of the year, there may be somewhere around 500,000 population who will be infected by COVID-19 in Nepal. If that is so, then we have to live with it. That's why the new normal. And in this changing mindset that we have to live with, we also have to acknowledge this, as Deepak very rightly said, to how to survive or revive or thrive with the tourism business in the country. So Rafai, you are very right to mention about the 3 points, major points that you try to touch upon, about focus more on domestic tourism, digital technology, and also the communication strategy in that manner, and the safety and security. Like these 3 areas, that is of the major concern, and that the Nepalese authorities have already started looking into that, and they are also in the same line. The training and retraining that we all talked about a lot, and Dhananjay ji just mentioned also, is that they have been training almost, I mean, you have your numbers as well. So training, retraining, safety, security, communication, digital, these are the things that we are coming across with. Now, in this period, when we cannot invite more international tourists into the country, we could spend at least this time to upkeep our products. Like Dr. Rafai also was touching upon that. So Dr. Hardy has, as you mentioned, that your survey demonstrated that almost 2/3 of the business were not ready for this type of crisis, and the financial crisis that we are looking at now, the tourism crisis, financial crisis, whatever we term it, this crisis as. I mean, this is much, much bigger than the financial crisis of 2008. That is very true. Even if you look at the stimulus packages that are brought out in the United States and United Kingdom, that also shows that this is a big crisis and we've got to handle very carefully. So in this scenario, the right approach would be to focus more on domestic aspects, the domestic tourism, and also upkeep your products so that when the tourism opens again, like Deepakji was asking, how about the date of the opening? I mean, announcement of the date of the opening. And Rajanji said that, okay, he cannot come out with any date or so to open the aviation sector. And if the airports are closed, then the tourism doesn't really revive. That's for true. So in that scenario, at least upkeeping our tourism products, I mean, revisiting our rules, regulations, procedures. We have a new governance system now, federal, province, and the local government. So the list of EU for our airline industry. If we is back again, our flights could go to the Europe and other destinations as well. I mean, these were the areas, in fact, where the attention has to be focused, at least in the Nepalese context. So the net is not properly working today, so I should not take much of your time. But the way that we have discussed the major issues today are quite right, I should say. I mean, these are the bases that wherein the decision makers and the planners have to start thinking upon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, respected Divyan Pustakal, sir. Just a moment. Okay. Thank you very much for your wrapping up of this webinar. And at the end, we have a special guest, the Secretary from Ministry of Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation, Mr. Kedar Bahadur Adhikari. I would like to welcome him for his special remarks.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me in this webinar, Tourism Act Now for Better Tomorrow. I apologize for not being able to join at from the very beginning of this session. So I could not hear all the guest speakers about their views on tourism in Nepal and as a whole. However, I could hear some of the guest speakers today, and especially I could hear about Dhananjay Regmeji. He has already briefed about what we are going to do now. Let me explain first, what is the situation of COVID-19 here in Nepal. I think it has already been discussed, but I would like to repeat it again. Till now, there are more than 60,000 cases of COVID-19 active cases. Out of this, 48% recovery till today, and gradually the number of infectious people is reducing. So it is showing that our government has, doing good approach on tackling these COVID-19 cases. And government has also provided the facility of testing in more than 22 sectors, while it was at the very beginning, it was not in a single point was not there in Nepal. We have sent our first sample to Hong Kong. After that, gradually we have established 22 centers for these facilities. Now there are more than 132,000 these quarantine beds available, service available, and government has also recognized some of the hotels for this facility also. So with this, I think government has succeeded to contain the infectious cases, and gradually the business are also opening. Recently, government has also announced to open the public transportation, applying health safety measures. Similarly, we have also prepared two distinct guidelines. One is in aviation sector and one is in tourism sectors. This has been already approved by the government and concerned department, and it has already been in training phase, and we are very much ready to open our business once the government will allow us. And for this, we have also extensively engaged with our government, other ministries for opening our business in upcoming August, September. We are planning for mid-August. We are discussing with our CCMC, which is a Central Committee for Managing this COVID, and we are apprising our request to the government to allow us to reopen the business. For this, you have already learned that we have already done some of the preparatory works, and we are ready to do that again. On the part of overall, loss in this due to this COVID-19 cases, Nepal tourism sectors, loss till now is assuming roughly around 360 millions. We are assuming 90 millions per month is the total transaction. This is turnover transactions, not the exact transaction, but turnover transactions. And if this case go long, this loss will go up. So we are right now requesting our government to look upon this figure and bring more rehabilitation or stimulus package. Dhananjaya already mentioned about that stimulus packages of 550 billion Nepalese rupee of revival package for employee. and 100 million package for revival of tourism sectors along with tourism sectors, other sectors also, at an interest rate of 5%. And we are also providing some of other facilities which can ease their cash liquidity. Like, for example, reimbursement of VAT is given for 4 months of time frame, which was earlier 2 months. So the hoteliers can use their VAT money for 2 more months. Similarly, we have also given the timeline for payment of other payments for 6 months till December. On that date, we will not charge any penalties to the airlines or travel agents for that payment to the government agencies. Likewise, we have also proposed for some of the discount or exemption on rental or other incomes. So that way we are giving direct relief packages also, and we have also prepared a revival plan. Our right now our focus is to use 3-point approach. This is for the first, we are focusing on survival of the business. The second approach is a revival. Survival, we are looking for year 2020 for survival package, and year 21 onward we are looking for revival. And then after that we are looking on sustainability approach, sustainable of tourism. So on that timeline we will look upon how our tourism can get better, or it can regenerate. So that is the approach. On that sustainability approach, our ministry is planning to make a longer term vision, on which we are preparing one steering committee chaired by our honorable ministers, and then there will be several working thematic committee which will look upon different products that will cover aviation sector, and tourism promotion sector, and product development sector, and sustainability part. So on that way we are planning a longer term vision also, and emphasizing on product development. Coming year also we have planned for various programs. So as our CEO also already briefed you about hill station, development of 7 hill stations, and linking of provinces in tourism, local government in tourism, one festival each in province level, which will connect our national integrity also. We are focusing basically on a partnership with both provincial and local government on developing infrastructure in the tourism and aviation sectors. We have also taken policy level reforms during this period. We have already submitted our 2 bills separating civil aviation authority, current civil aviation authority, into 2 different institutions. One is regulatory institution, and another is service provider institutions. That bill has already been discussed in the upper house, and we are hoping that once the parliament resume, we will get approval from that parliament, and we will have to 2 separate institutions, and we will also be able to get out from EU safety list. That is our plan. And similarly, we are also revisiting our existing tourism act, which has not been revised since 42 years back. So this is the big steps we are taking on. On that, we are including our provincial government and local government, how their role can be cleared on this law, and they can invest more in tourism sectors. So that way we are planning, and we are also emphasizing on developing skilled human resources in this sector. We are expanding our hospitality, tourism, and mountaineering education in the province level also. Similarly, we are also expanding our training capacity, and we are also looking after aviation sector, promoting aviation sector human resources. So that way, government has planned for this revival of the tourism sector, tourism aviation sector. I think with this, right now, I would like to stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, respected Secretary, Ministry of Culture, Tourism and Civil Aviation, for your special remarks and valuable presence here today. We have come to the end, and at the end, I would like to thank all the panelists, Dr. Talib Rifai, Dr. Mario Hardy, Dr. Dhananjay Regmi, Mr. Rajan Pokhrel, Mr. Deepak Raj Joshi, our respected Divendra Pustakal sir, and all the participants for your kind patience and valuable time today, though it was beyond the time limit. At PATA, we are committed to enhance our engagement and advocacy for the survival and revival of tourism in partnership with public and private sector. So we do require your continued support, recommendation time to time, so that together we can achieve our mission of tourism recovery. Finally, we wish you all the good health and wonderful week ahead. Stay safe. Thank you. Namaste, everyone.
Thank you.
Namaste, everyone. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Namaste.
Dr. Z. Thank you very much, Dr. Rifai. Dr.
Thank you.
Mario
Thank
Hardy.
you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.